today's toy spot, we are having a look at the McFarlane Toys Alien Queen. Ages 13 and up, and was produced under the movie Maniacs Series 6 banner. Spot's had this in his collection for the longest time, and as you can still see, it's sealed. I've never opened it, and even when I started this channel back in, when was it? 2006? No, it was 2000, I think it was 2008. It's been a long time, needless to say. One of the things that I always wanted to get around to reviewing, and I just never got to, was the Alien Queen. I've had it in my collection for a good, I want to say 10 years or so, and just again, never have opened it. The Alien Queen has 10 points of articulation and bendy tail, custom diorama base, and trapped human with chest burster play action. It's not recommended for children under 3 years of age, as it does have some choking hazard listed on the box. On the back of the package, actually this will give you a better idea as to how old this is. It says, see our entire 2003 products at spawn.com. It's now 2016, so this is 13 years old. Other series, or other Movie Maniacs Series 6, this was basically a very heavy Predator and Alien line, as the other ones available were Predator 2, Predator the Hunter, also from Predator 2, Warrior Alien, and then also the Movie Maniacs Series 6 box set. Not to and also mention the Dog Alien from Alien 3 as well. A brief read-up says, this deluxe edition from Movie Maniacs Series 6, or Movie Maniacs 6, features the Alien Queen from Aliens. This action figure is incredibly detailed and fully articulated, and features a custom movie diorama and chest burster play action. Once again, to check out more from the folks over at McFarlane Toys, head over to www.mcfarlane.com, or spawn.com in this case. Spot's going to take himself a very, very long break. Not long for you guys, but long for me, because I'm going to have to get all this wiring. I got all these little twist ties and everything else to take apart. But we're finally going to have a look, long overdue, at the McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs Series 6 Alien Queen. It's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Spot has made an absolute mess of things. Don't worry, nothing's broken, but we're going to look at these kind of individually because Alien Queen does not stand on her own. I'll show you guys that and a reason for that in a second. But why don't we look at the, I guess, the diorama end of things as we have a look at the poor victim that's attached to the pipework here of the subterranean area where they see in Aliens. Now, it does kind of look like the girl that is screaming, "Help me! Help me!" One thing too that's neat is on the back. I don't normally like gimmicks, but I like this one. This little thing can pull out just like that, and it looks like she's okay. Like things are going to be a-okay. We're just going to cut her down. She'll be as good as new. But you push this through, and help me. No, I can't get it. And this pops through like that, and you've got the actual chest burster coming out of her chest, which is really neat. You can also rotate it as well, just by the fact that you're rotating this on the back. It's a nice effect. The shirt is just rubber enough that it allows for the chest burster to come out. But what it does tend to do, though, is it snags on the one side of her top. And because of that, sometimes it gets a little more difficult to get the chest burster in and out. But as you can see, it comes out through the hole, a nice gruesome effect. I like that McFarlane would have incorporated that. The coloring on this is relatively very neutral gray, although there's added a little bit of extra wash there. It comes across almost more like somebody just speckled it with paint. All these little speckled areas of lighter gray are on the walls or on the floor, all over the pipes as well. There's really not a lot of color, and I wish perhaps this had been a little bit more of a, not a vibrant green. I don't want it to be glowing in the dark kind of green, but I wish it was maybe just a little bit more of a richer looking green, that it broke up all this very neutral, almost black and white kind of grayscale color scheme that they've got going on here. All these little extra wires are sticking down, wires on the side. wrapped around the little cogs and wheels there. It looks nice. It's a very nice, show-worthy sort of piece. And certainly the gimmick goes a long way for me. So this would peg in. There's a little peg on the underside here. And this would peg into place like that. Now there are 2 notches. There's actually 2 holes here. But it would attach to this one right here. Now I'm not going to attach it just yet because I'm going to actually need this for the Queen. See, there's 2 peg holes here. Oh, Spot actually hurt himself here. There's 2 peg holes here, and there are 2 pegs on the undersides of her feet. In other words, this is why she does not stand. Let me tell you, the hardest part, and that's probably why I ended up hurting myself, is getting these off. When you get them out of packaging, when you get the Queen out of packaging, these have to come off. And let me tell you, I had the hardest time trying to get that off. I ended up trying to take a screwdriver, and I was just kind of just pulling it until it finally gave way. These are not forgiving in the slightest. In fact, a very dense rubber. Very difficult to get off. But when you finally succeed and you're victorious and you're a winner at the game of life, the Queen just pegs into those little ports. And one thing is, once you get her in there, at least she's not going to go anywhere. The hard part, though, is, and I didn't realize it, there we go. I didn't realize it initially. I couldn't figure out why she wasn't fitting. Then it occurred to me, oh, I need a V8. The reason why was because these little plastic things were not taken off of the undersides of her feet. So there's the Queen. Then this would attach itself to that. And that's essentially what the diorama would look like. McFarlane was good for diorama pieces. They're not posable, though. Queen is very limited on her posability, but at least for a show end of it, just simply from a display purpose, she looks really impressive. We'll go ahead and we'll take the poor victim. We're just going to put her right over there because we want to really focus our efforts on the Queen here. Now, up to the point that McFarlane, well, up to the point that NECA released their version of Alien Queen, this was pretty much the go-to for Queen figures. There are certainly smaller scale figures, one's a little bit more posable. McFarlane also did an AVP version of Queen, which was more like a very small diorama. But if you want something not larger than life, obviously, because that would never fit your house, but if you want a very large display piece, this was the way to go. Up to the point that NECA released theirs. And what I will try to do, space-wise, I'll bring in the Alien Queen from NECA so you guys can see the differences between the two. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. So, like I said, the figure is very limited on her posability. Let's see if we can actually get her off of her display stand. There we go. And just a quick look at the display stand. You have the floor grate there, slightly washed with a lighter gray. There's your 2 peg holes there for where her feet are going to peg into place. And once again, there's the pegs on the undersides. It's probably just easier if I just hold the Queen, as I can probably get a lot more accomplished. Okay, so things I like about the Queen. She's very, not stocky, but she's very solid. The NECA, by comparison, and again, I'll bring her in so you guys can see. The NECA's version was more posable, yes, I'll give it that. But this one feels like it's just a little bit more stable, if that's the best way I can describe it. Some of the things that I like about this particular one are the extensions that she has on the spinal top area of her back. Now these are just strictly rubber. You can't do anything with them. NECA's, on the other hand, were posable, but that was also the downside to it. Because they were posable, every time you moved the head, it would knock these off. And I had to not replace them like they were broken, but I had to replace them and put them back on her back a couple of times. There's the front of the Queen. Let's maybe bring the camera up. There we go. The front of the Queen looks good. She doesn't have a mouth that can open, unfortunately. NECA's also had the dome, the main crest, the Queen Royal crest. This could shift forward. McFarlane's doesn't do that, but I think it looks pretty good. It has a very, not cel-shaded, but it has a very unique paint scheme to it. At the time, of course, when they were painting it for a more realistic approach. But ultimately now what it comes across to me as, it looks like something, it almost looks like something that NECA would have done now as a video game inspired version of their figure. Very stark black panel lining, especially around the mouth area. It's also interesting that her teeth are slight translucent. It doesn't, let me see if I can tip it upside down. There we go. You can see that there's a translucency to her teeth. It loses something, of course, when you're going to be displaying her, because you may not notice right off the bat that she has translucency to her teeth, but I guess it does give her a very alien, wet look to her teeth. So I like that. But like the majority of the figure is kind of this bluish gray color. Lot of dark black areas, especially black areas on the legs. There's not really a lot of breaking up. You might have a little areas and pockets where this lighter beige color kind of just breaks it up so it's not all this blue-gray everywhere. I wish this could have opened, but, you know, that being the case, it's still a great-looking figure. Might also add, it's an expensive figure. Some of the larger McFarlane releases, i.e. the Jaws playset, the Alien Queen, and even King Kong have increased in price. Alien Queen here can go for, I've seen even as high as $350 on eBay to get the Alien Queen sealed in box. When it comes to her posability, her head is on a ball joint. Now, let me rephrase that. The top area of her head is on a ball joint, this section right here. This area here. Not this necessarily, but this section right here is a ball joint. Then you've got a ball joint on the base of the neck that attaches to the torso area. This, by the way, is also all soft rubber, which is kind of neat. I like that as opposed to it just being strictly plastic. So you have a ball joint here. You have a ball joint here. Shoulders hinge out. Let me just hinge those out. There we go. They hinge out and they do rotate, but let me show you here. When you rotate it, you see this little kind of ledge of a shoulder. It allows movement forward and back, but then it stops right there. Again, you can hinge that out and get a little bit extra clearance, but just default, it does want to kind of hit there and get stuck. There's no arm articulation. She does have hand articulation, but she's got this weird, kind of, she wants somebody like to kiss her hand, kind of like the Queen, like, him. It does rotate, but there's no real correct way to rotate it without it looking awkward. It either looks like she's looking for somebody to kiss her hand, or she's like flipping somebody the bird, like that Italian kind of stuff. There's a rotation on the other hand, and as you probably already saw just now, these are on ball joints, but consistently, without fail, these will pop off all the time. I don't like that, but there's not really much you can do about it. Her legs are on hinges, which are good and bad. Good in the fact that they're posable. I like that. But because you have the pegs always as a frequent reminder, oh yeah, right, I got to display her on this. Even though she does have leg posability, you can't really display her other than what you're seeing right now. The tail is rotation there, and there's also that wireframe in the tail, which also is that soft rubber, the same as the collar area of her neck. So there is the Alien Queen. I guess there's really not much else we can talk about when it comes to the Alien Queen, but I guess there's probably just one thing I'm sure everybody who has picked up this figure or has picked up the other one wants to know, how does this stack with the NECA release? Well, here we have the McFarlane version of the Queen. Here we have NECA's version of the Alien Queen. Now, obviously, you're looking at size, you're looking at details, you're looking at other things. NECA wins, by far. She has a little bit more posability going for her. She's got that slick wetness to her that I really, really like. But there's still a lot to be said for McFarlane's release. I have to be completely honest. This one is more lankier. It seems like it's just a little bit more stretched out. But I just feel like the Queen from McFarlane feels just like a little bit more solid. And I don't mean that literally because the figure simply just doesn't have the posability to speak of. But because NECA's has so much posability to it that a lot of times you're kind of correcting yourself, you're adjusting the arms, making sure everything fits right. These, again, can be problematic. These will always pop off. This one does have a better crest. Let me see if I can spin it around. I'm making an absolute mess of my display stand here. But there's the Alien crest on the Queen from NECA, and there's the one from McFarlane. Again, great comparisons. This one also had the shifting crest, which some people didn't really like because, like, the face really should be what's sliding in and out, not necessarily the crest. But there's how the two stack side by side. Some would obviously, of course, gravitate a little bit more towards the NECA. Some of the other areas that I didn't really like for NECA's was that it had all this extra gold. Let me see if I can spin around there. You can see all the little areas of gold, which to me, I don't like as much. Whereas if it just stayed this consistent blue and that darker kind of purpley gray, I think would have just translated better. The extra gold just separates me a little bit, pulls me a little bit away from liking this piece a little bit more. So yes, the NECA has a lot more going size-wise. It's a lot more posable. But I still feel like there's a little bit of love. A little bit of love for McFarlane's release over here. And I just figure for some extra fun, here's some size comparisons. There is NECA's xenomorph egg, or one of the xenomorph eggs. Still fits fairly accurate, I think. It could be a little bit smaller, yes, but let's bring in another NECA release. It's not really NECA, I understand it, but there's Ellen Ripley, just to kind of show you how the McFarlane release of Alien Queen stacks up. And let's reach off camera and let's bring in a NECA Alien Warrior. Big difference, obviously. The Alien Queen here is way too small to accommodate both, like the NECA 6-inch versions of human characters and, of course, of alien figures. To sum things up, I kind of look at the McFarlane release of the Alien Queen as like an old love. You know, you'll move on in life. You'll find better things, hopefully better things in life that will make you happier. Maybe the things in the future will bring more things to the table. Maybe they're nicer to you and you do more exciting things and stuff like that. But you know what? You kind of still look at your first loves. This was when I first was starting to really get into action figure collecting. McFarlane movie Maniacs, I've said on countless occasions, was really the action figure series. I don't want to even say action figure, but it was the collectible figure series that got me into collecting. The McFarlane movie Maniacs, Freddy Krueger, and of course Jason Voorhees. I think actually Freddy Krueger was the one that got me interested into collecting again when I was into my early 20s. Then I started getting into the larger figures. This was, well, Series 6. But I always still have a soft spot when it comes to McFarlane toys. They're more staction figures. They don't have the posability to speak of that, the likes of, your Play Arts Kai figures, your NECA figures. They certainly have a lot more posability going for them. But you'll never forget your original love. And my original love was still to this day McFarlane movie Maniac figures. I'm really glad that I finally got a chance to dust off the proverbial, dust on the box of the Alien Queen here and finally have a look at her. I don't know if I would necessarily ever really display her because I generally display now the NECA release of her. But I still, you know what? I think I might even bring her out, put her on display. Because again, she still brings a lot to the table 13 years after she was released. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Long time coming. I know, very long time coming. But today we were having a look at the McFarlane toys. This was Movie Maniacs Series 6, and this was the Queen, the Alien Queen playset. Not even so much playset, but diorama set. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's got more videos. He does. More videos coming in the pipeline, if you will. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.